So I got my rant off. Little quick synopsis before I react to this video. Ime Udoka is now serving a season-long suspension. The season-long suspension is what I would believe be his final coaching moment in boxing. I think this is just a prolonged, inevitable process toward his letting go. I think they just want to see whether his staff is worthwhile of hiring, or should they go on and proceed to find a new coach. It's too deep into the off season to really just go and look for coaches and just offer contracts and understand what coaching principles are going to work for your system. So I get why the suspension's happening. If it's really, especially if it's something severe, I think they're just trying to conserve as much money as possible so that they can then find a long-term solution for their coaching problem right now. I just want to say that Ime Udoka is completely irresponsible for whatever he's accused of doing. It's just ridiculous that you would sacrifice a chance at competing for a championship for whatever the moment was here, which is, I'm hoping they'll describe eventually. If I find out, I'll let you guys know, but as of right now, I'm unaware of it. So yeah, I guess we're gonna tap in, we're gonna react to this video. Yeah, let's see.
Let me ask you this. So obviously, I read it right here. It's considered a violation of the organization's guidelines, but this is what I don't understand. So if you violate it, is it a hard, fast rule that you're suspended a year? Or how did they come to this year-long suspension?
You know, I think a big part of this, Molly, is the fact that, Ime Udoka is in a leadership position in this organization. And
that's also a good point. Ime does have leadership position in the organization. Forgot about that. I forgot that he did have that power.
And only the Celtics could, whether it's Brad Stevens, their legal group, ownership, only they can say what the impact would be in a similar situation if he was an assistant coach, if he worked in the video room, if he worked in the ticket office. But he is the head coach of the team. And, I think this was a situation where there was a subordinate, somebody who worked within his leadership sphere. And I think that's certainly a big part of the significance of this suspension. And I think a breakdown, from the Celtics' point of view with Udoka in leadership, their trust, his decision-making, certainly, again, he is the head coach of a team. Had he been an assistant, would it be looked at differently? That's a good question, but he is the head coach.
Well, interesting point that I wanted to bring up, because in your reporting, you highlighted consensual relationship, but it also said, violation of organizational policy. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what it comes down to. What I'm interested in knowing from the Celtics' point of view, Woj, is this. Does the organization define this policy violation as sexual harassment? Is that where they're going with something like this? I don't. But in your reporting, did you get any indication at all that there was any kind of strong resistance from him, a temptation to fight this in any way?
I think Udoka was limited in his options here. And again, I think essentially there were three options, Stephen A. and Molly, accepting the 1-year suspension, resignation, or firing. And certainly each has its own consequences in terms of your contract, money. Certainly those are all impacted in different ways based on any of those decisions. So I do think there was a process of days here where those conversations went back and forth between the Celtics and Udoka. But
speaking of contracts, I'm pretty sure that they just paid Ime too. So that's a whole ordeal. They gave him a long-term deal.
Currently, I think both sides thought about all of those options. And again, a one-year suspension that comes without an assurance that he returns for next season, it speaks to the fact that there's a real possibility he has coached his last game in Boston.
Yeah. And I just want to remind everyone, we will hopefully get a lot of answers to this because we're going to carry the press conference live from Boston in moments. But while we are still waiting, Woj, I had another question for you. So obviously the interim coach we know will be Joe Mazzulla. What are you hearing about that decision in him?
Joe Mazzulla is a fast riser in the coaching profession. 34 years old. He'll be the youngest.
As y'all see, they got the assistant coach, Joe Mazzulla, just right off of Ime's coaching that tree. So, yeah, it's going to be opportunity for him to see whether the organization is going to commit to him or they're going to go look some other way. They have no reason to really look outside of his staff right now, but there's no reason to throw no long-term contract, which is why Ime's not getting fired.
Youngest head coach this season in the league, just a few months younger than Will Hardy, the new coach in Utah, who was together with Mazzulla in Boston last season. Both were finalists for the Jazz job. I know this about Joe Mazzulla. He commands the respect of the players in Boston. He had started out on Brad Stevens' coaching staff. Udoka kept him as part of his staff when he took over. And this is somebody who was going to be a head coach in all likelihood in the NBA. This is obviously coming sooner than he would have imagined at 34. This is a very tall order. This is not like being involved in the Utah job where you're going to be in a rebuild and you have time with a young group to do a lot of teaching. This is an organization with championship aspirations who has a window here to win a title. I mean, he's going to get an opportunity here. I think Brad Stevens would like to perhaps add to his coaching staff, get him some more veteran help. But I think Stevens is there as a resource for him upstairs. Obviously, he had very good success as a head coach. He's coached this team, and I think he was a resource for Ime last season too. But they believe in Joe Mazzulla, and he's going to have an opportunity here with a very talented team to coach these Celtics. And I think I know there's some speculation about Brad Stevens. Would he come back downstairs and coach? And my sense is that Stevens wants to just support Mazzulla, and that there's belief in that organization that he can rise here. But this is, again, a tall order for a first-time head coach in the NBA.
Yeah, I didn't learn anything from that video. That was pretty much the Ime news. I don't really want to talk about it too much because we don't know exactly what's happened, and the assumption is that he's a scumbag.